surface of the deep. So Genesis is interested in organizing the world against a chaotic world. And during ancient times, chaos is signified in Near Eastern literature. Chaos was signified by raging seas and darkness. So when a Jew would read this, darkness was over the surface of the deep. Oh, there's chaos around. This is chaotic. Even an Egyptian ancient man would say, oh, God is describing here something very chaotic. Why? Because there's darkness. And there's water and it's deep. That's chaotic. Right? Raging seas. That's why, if you go to Psalm 89 verse 9, please. Psalm 89 verse 9 says, you rule the swelling of the sea. When its waves rise, you still them. You know, that's how the gods before showed their power. By creating order. By putting functions from a chaotic state. And I was looking at this and I was trying to understand this. So from a chaotic state, what happens? God started putting functions, and we will look at that in the coming days. What does it mean? If God did not create, was not creating it, what was He creating in this next 7 days, right? And my son was asking earlier, but Dad, what happened on the 7th day? When God rested. Oh, that's, when I was restudying this on ancient eyes, it's a culmination. So, verse 2, the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. Again, nakita mo dito, may tubig na eh. Even before the start of creation. But it is not about, it's not saying that there's water. What God is pointing to the Jews here, it's so chaotic at the start that there is darkness and there is waters, and the waters are deep. And next, what does it say? And the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water. You know, the word Spirit of God, Ruah. Diba? There's always a question. The word wind and spirit is the same word, Ruah. And the question is, some people, even my Bible, NASB, it puts the word spirit in capital letters. I don't know. Is it yours in capital? Capital, right? What does that imply? It implies it's the Holy Spirit when it's capital. Being. But, again, so the word that was used here was the word what? Ruah. R-U-A-H, right? Ruah. Then the interpreter decided to say, this is the Spirit of God. The Spirit. He could have said it is the wind of God, but chose to say it's the Spirit of God. Which means what? The Trinity. I submit, it's not. Why do I say that? Because, again, all throughout the Bible, the Old Testament, God was always telling the Jews that there's only one God. Monotheistic tayo. One God, one God, one God, one God, one God. There's no other God but Yahweh. All your other gods are fake. There's only one God. That's why when Jesus Christ came and says he was God, they said, you're blasphemous. All through our life we were taught, our ancestors were taught that there's only one God. How can you claim that you are God? Let's kill him. That is the mentality. So here, God is not teaching them that there are more than one God. So we have to take this because remember, the ancient Jews does not have the concept of Trinity. Wala pa silang knowledge ng Trinity. That the modern interpreter chose to put it is based on their modern theology. They know this theology of Trinity in the New Testament. But the Old Testament time, they have no concept of Trinity. Therefore, we take this as the wind of God. You understand what I'm saying? So, we say that the wind of God was moving over the surface of the water. And I remember one of my Bible teacher was saying, and some of my friends, Bobby, that's the Holy Spirit working. And the hovering there, it was shaking the water. It was emitting, energy strong enough that it started creating things. Again, could be true scientifically, but they will not understand it that way. You understand? They will not understand it that way. And the word hovering there comes from the word circulating. So the wind of God, the wind of God is like saying the hand of God. The wind of God, part of God, the wind of God was circulating around the waters. So the earth was non-functional in verse 2. It's watery, it's chaotic, and all of the sudden, God's wind permeated and circulated around the surface of the earth. So if we will look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, basically it says, in the beginning period of time, which is the 7 days, God started putting functions on things both in heaven and in earth. And he did this way. It started with the earth that is very chaotic. It is formless. And it is dark. And there, the wind of God started circulating around it. That's why, if you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 1, it ends there. Thus the heavens and the earth were complete, and all their host. It starts in verse 1, talking about the heavens and the earth, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and it ends in Genesis chapter 2, verse 1, saying the heavens and the earth were completed. After going and giving functions, it is only then that God said, it is now complete, it is now created, it is now functioning the way I want it to function. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 basically tells us that our God is a God of order. And the thing here is this, from a state of chaoticness, God created by putting functions into it. And the thing here is, when man sinned, guess what? It became chaotic again. And the redemption story will eventually bring us back to this state of being functioning properly for God's glory. Basically, our message today is really an introductory. And it shows that we have an orderly God. And that means in our practical life, if you are a child of God, your life should really be in order. In a practical basis. And I realize that our life is not in order when we are not at peace with God. And we are not at peace with God is when we sin. So, basically that's it. And the coming weeks we'll try to understand the meaning of the different days, at least in Genesis chapter 1, how the ancient Jews would understand it. For our last song.